I was going to say because he smoked pot and played the
Exactly.
saxophone.
But you see that symbolicism. So individuals who smoke pot and make, you know what I mean?
That made him leader of the free world.
You know what I'm saying? So look, but see how media crafted that. He's a black president because he smokes weed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
or
he
he has the oral sex thing and all those things. That doesn't make you black.
He was the party president.
Right.
That's what you're saying. You know, and
right.
And that's true. He went on Arsenio Hall and he told the story about how he didn't inhale and he wore Blues Brothers sunglasses, played saxophone with the band.
No, I think it was
he was the first president to appear on MTV.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did interviews on MTV. He related to younger people and
after Bush Senior and Ronald Reagan, he was a very different kind of president.
And that comment, I feel your pain. You know, when he said that, people believed him.
Oh yeah,
and it made it feel like, wow, there's another JFK. There's another guy who will at least listen, who will at least think about what needs to be done.
Now that you say that, what's going on like in Ferguson? Where's Barack Obama? He hasn't said that one time. I feel your pain. I mean, I understand.
The closest he came is when he said Trayvon Martin could.
Yeah, no, the Trayvon speech was a pretty good speech.
I'm saying you got these two incidents. I mean, it's a time you got. I mean, Barack, you really have nothing to lose. To step. I mean, it's a big issue. Like you got police killing young black men like that. I'm not saying it don't happen to other people, but black men, it's like it's more glorified these days. Like like the guy who killed Trayvon.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, a couple of months ago, when he had a forum and he used the venue to sell a portrait of Trayvon for $30,000.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yes.
I thought he got rearrested for some other violence.
I don't know about that, but I'm saying it's like it was glorified that he did this. Barack Obama, I know you can't do everything, but you a black president. Racism is an issue. I mean, it's always been like you said, but when it comes to racism with me, I think it's about resources.
Well, let me ask a tough question. Did you feel somehow betrayed by Barack Obama? I mean, I don't want to use that term. I mean, that's too strong a term. But did you feel like he's just really not carrying the weight?
But there is some disappointment.
I mean, me personally, I'm disappointed, and I can see other people are disappointed or something. They thought he would represent, blacks in America better than what he had.
But what about blacks that are in positions to represent blacks in America? Barack Obama's easy to pick on because he's in the big house.
Right.
But there are a lot of black elected officials now all over the country. Right. And Flint had one of the first black mayors in a large city in America, yet...
Was that McGee?
Floyd McCree. Late 1960s. The first major city to have a black mayor.
First major American city to have a housing ordinance. First American city to name a street after Cesar Chavez. And yet race relations really aren't worse anywhere else. I mean, can you think of someplace? I mean, other than genocidal countries in North Africa, can you think of a place in America, in the United States, where racism is worse than it is in Flint?
Chicago.
You think it's worse in Chicago than in Flint? Is it that, or is it just bigger?
It's probably bigger.
Yeah, population bigger.
But I think we have a lot of spokespersons. I don't think we have a lot of black leaders. It's a difference between.
What's the difference? That's a good question.
I would say the spokesperson is someone who's reactionary. When something happens, like with Trayvon or Mike Brown, we have people reacting. We got the Al Sharptons, the Jesse Jacksons, Rainbow Coalition, they come in. But there wasn't proactive to equip people for things like that from stopping.
Haven't those guys become professional race baiters?
Yes, that's a good way to say it.
Yes. When we talk about,
they play on the race car.
When we mentioned a little bit ago that a lot of discussion about racism tends to just turn into grievance sessions aren't these guys kind of leading the choir?
Exactly. And I think that's why I asked you, Tom, about what's your understanding or interpretation of racism. And for me, mine is, what is racism? Which is a competitive relationship between groups of people that are competitive for ownership of resources and power. You know, that's a difference. And then if you want to take it even farther, now who is a racist? Then I say, what is a racist? To deprive another human being of freedom, justice, and equality. Now you become a racist when you see me striving to achieve whatever you want to call this American dream or whatever title, the promised land or whatever you want to title it. When you see me doing that without harming or being destructive to humanity and the citizens around me, then you're becoming a racist because you're trying to stop my righteousness because either you can't do it or you just have something in you that dislikes me for whatever that reason may be. I don't know every man or woman.
Right.
But when you start to do things like that, then you become a racist. You know what I mean? So I look at it as more, you can't be, racism doesn't exist without a group. Racism is a group. It's a group project. You know what I mean? And it's nothing wrong with looking out for your own. We already do it. You know what I mean? You got the little Italy, you got little China, you got all these things. The only thing you don't got is little Africa. You got ghettos, you got projects, but that's not little Africa. That's not our history, that's not our culture, that's not the things.
No, but we do have the hood.
That's not who I'm is.
What?
See, those terms mean something.
What does it mean when we talk about the hood?
The hood can be many things.
What does it mean when we talk about the community?
That everybody's interpretation is gonna be different.
Right.
It's gonna be different.
I think if you ask most people, they say the hood, they automatically think of something negative.
Probably.
You think of something pessimistic. You think of community. You think of more,
Yeah.
optimistic. Oh, it's a beautiful flowers and trees.
But there are all these terms that have become part of everyday life. One that comes to mind is black on black crime. We don't hear about white on white crime.
But it goes on.
I mean, we do. We hear about it.
It's not labeled that.
But it isn't.
Never the label.
But it isn't a sociological idiom.
Yeah.
You know, but black on black crime is.
And that even proves even more what we saying in regards to the stereotyping. Because it's just as much Caucasians killing each other as it is blacks.
Driving while black.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we make laws off of races. Driving while black. You ever heard of driving while white?
No.
You see what I'm saying?
No,
you see
no,
how
that's
those
what I'm trying to
supremacists,
get at.
individuals who have those mentalities.
What I'm trying to get at is one of the things about stereotypes is that there's some basis for them. You know, Italian women are great cooks. Chinese women can't drive. Yeah, I mean, there are all these things, and
Yeah.
in certain contexts they can be fun and funny. Comedians tear up. You know, I remember seeing one comedian that just ripped on every ethnic group he could come up with, and at the end he said, "You notice I haven't said anything about gays or homosexuals, and that's because I know who runs show business and I want to stay away from it." But in some ways, the differences in people could be celebrated, not tolerated.
First, created us into different nations and tribes and languages and
Now
nationalities.
we may know one another.
Yeah.
So that we may know one. This is a verse from the Holy Quran. And you can find verses in the Bible as well if one truly seeks to find it out. But you just said something that's key. You know, whatever faith you choose to follow. You know what I mean? He created us into different languages, nations, tribes, so that we may know one another. Sometimes those differences can be good. That just goes to prove that it's something greater than all of us that allowed us to exist. But it's only when you take those differences and you mock them and you use them for exploitation, for killing, for, oppression. Different forms of oppression is when it becomes an issue. You know what I mean? Now that disrupts.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, one of the stereotypes that I'm particularly fond of is that Irish people drink and get in fights.
Well, the Fighting Irish, name of the.
I know,
Yeah,
and we joke about that, you know, and I've seen comedians make jokes about it, and Fighting Irish, those kinds of things.
Yeah,
But that doesn't have security guards following people with red hair
that's right.
around the
Nobody
Rite
gets shot for that
Aid.
generally, yeah.
You
No,
know
there may have
you
been a
know
time when
what
that
I'm
was
saying?
true. Maybe 150 years ago, that might have been true here and there. But Tom's right, that, you know, if you're Irish, security guards don't follow you through the mall or shoot you if you are walking down the street and so forth.
Right,
So, yeah.
right.
But if you black and got on a hoodie,
Yeah, that's exactly
And you
right.
see how certain media outlets are continuing to make sure the masses get that image of what a young black male is. They pumping it. You know what I mean? They continue to pump this and feed the masses with this. Instead of showing you the ones like me and Tim. We 4 years, almost 5 years removed from being incarcerated, coming from a negative background, to being on a high level. What we doing now, we educating people in our situations, young men who have yet to be there or maybe on their way there, coming on radio shows with yourself, starting businesses, just wrote books, showing that you can overcome the whatever it is that they pushed up on us at one point in time when you become, knowledgeable of self
But how do
and
we,
things of that nature.
and you're one of the best people to answer this because this is what you do every day. How do you get people who don't respect authority, who don't believe they have any hope, to follow a positive role model? And who decides what's positive? There are people who run for office, like I say, you're not gonna leave us once you get elected to the school board, right? You're not gonna all of a sudden become one of them.
I'm coming right on your show.
Yeah.
As soon as it's over. As soon as it's over.